Karen Wellman, who is creative partner at design studio Pearlfisher. And Karen is going to talk about her journey from design into invention and the invention of wearables, some of which are on display in the foyer. So I'll hand over to Karen. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for having me. You were going to get a great presentation, but I went out last night and had just one drink, and somehow or other I didn't quite make it home very early. So, but I just wanted to add in, really inspired by Duncan's wheel, reinvention of the wheel. I thought that was absolutely terrific. So. Anyway, I'm from Pearlfisher, and as I say, you were going to get a great presentation. I'm afraid now it's going to be pants and socks. So here we go. This is a motto that I like, and I believe that inventors sort of question why products do what they're put out on the market for. So I try to question those and look for problems and look to solve those. So my background is design, but I've always loved technology and innovation. So that has been a part of what I sort of look at, marrying technologies with different design aspects and creating solutions from that perspective. So technology should be invisible. That's I think you heard that from Duncan as well. And there's a lot out there at the moment that's coming around, and it should also be functional. You know, that's that's the most important aspect. But also, I do believe it should be beautiful. So I promised you socks, and I'm afraid you're going to get them. This is a little video that I picked up a few months back.
Who has the smartest socks in the world? We do. We launched the Sockscription in 1999, convinced that mankind is made for greater things than sorting socks. Sock sorting is now even easier with smarter socks, because socks are smart. But what makes a sock smart? Smart socks know where they come from, who they belong to, and are always faithful to the sock partner because they never stray. Smart socks can also communicate with the internet via an iPhone. It's basically pretty difficult to tell socks apart. To achieve this, all socks are fitted with a built-in communication button in form of an RFID chip.
Very important.
This makes every sock unique. We call it Plus. The communication button on the socks is not enough to communicate with the iPhone. Unfortunately, until now, iPhones could not communicate with RFIDs. So your iPhone would not understand your Plus socks. We have invented the sock sorter to solve this problem. It helps you sort your socks and helps your iPhone to communicate with them. Your iPhone needs apps to be able to do things, so it needs an app for socks. This is why we have developed our Black Socks app. Take any Plus sock, scan the chip, and as soon as you find the right partner, the app will make a noise and the sock will be considered as washed. Some cynical woman may claim that this is the only way a man could sort his own socks. Thanks to smarter socks, you can now tell where your socks come from, what their life has been like, and who they belong to. This gives every sock a little CV. Admittedly, it would not be enough to apply for a job, but gives you more information on the sock than ever before. Sometimes socks split up too, but it's not normally down to differences of opinion or because one sock finds a younger model. It's because one of the socks get lost or damaged. And we thought about this as well when we developed the app. If you have 2 single socks left over, they can join up for a while.
So our 3 pieces of equipment for to put your washing on. So it's a lot of technology, and as I started out saying, it should be invisible and it should be easy and should be functional. I don't think there's a person in the room that can't find their own socks. Yes, they do go walkies, but however, that's I think a technology that is sort of going to waste. I'm here to specifically talk about baby clothing, and a few years ago I was involved with living in America, and discovered that there are a lot of parents out there with the threat of SIDS, which is sudden infant death. And at the time, I was pregnant with my child, and there was a lot of scaremongering when you're sort of a new parent, and so I was looking around as what could reassure me, what could help me. I'm going to stop this movie now. There we go. So, 37 degrees was my solution, as I felt that if there was some clothing out there could actually help regulate the baby's body temperature, then that would be a good idea. It'd ease a lot of the worries from parents. And I think the Australians discovered like turning a baby on its back had massive implications, and suddenly deaths that were in the thousands went down to the hundreds, which was an incredible accolade. So there are a lot of technologies out there, and I looked for different technologies to sort of help me design this product. And there are smart fabrics that change color. They show showing this sort of temperature variation. And here's one particular brand that does it, and I think it was featured on an inventor's show recently. But the question is what happens in the dark? What happens when the parents are asleep and you can't see that the baby's too hot or too cold? And by that point, the horse is bolted, and it's the after effect. It doesn't help. It's not a technology that's monitoring or guiding or actually performing to solve the problem. So what happens in the dark? Space and space technology, and that's sort of where I took my inspiration from. So you look at astronauts, they don't have the luxury of choosing their own clothes. They've got to regulate their body temperature while they're out in space. It's not too hot or too cold. They have an issue, and so one size fits all, one suit fits all. So, and this is me testing that technology in my studio in London. So, space technology protects our most precious commodity, which in my view is our children. And our children are our future. So I used intelligent textiles to sort of design a beautiful aesthetic product that meets sort of intelligent technology. This was the branding that we created. We created 37 degrees. It was called that specifically to give away the idea about the temperature, to inform the parent that's the temperature you need, which is normal body temperature. 98.6 degrees in America, which is a slight difficult problem, but so we created 37 degrees, and what it was we used a NASA space technology to incorporate it into the fabrics and the yarn of the, and then knitted that into a fabric. It used a phase change technology, which was minuscule, and the technology absorbed the heat, excess heat, and then stored it and then released it back as it sensed a temperature fluctuation. So I created that for babies and actually for children up to sort of 5 years. And the reason being is if your temperature fluctuates during the night, it's probably one of the most disruptive effects on your sleep than anything else. So if your temperature fluctuates, then you get a difficult night's sleep, and we all experience that. And specifically with a baby who can't monitor their own temperature very well, it's still in a developing phase. Same with younger children, they actually sleep much better through the night because the temperature is at a more comfortable level. So, why did we need it? Why did I create this? Well, that was basically to reduce the risk of overheating and give parents peace of mind. and ultimately make the children a little bit more comfortable. These are some of the garments that I produced. We're producing fabric and did a lot of testing sort of all around the world, producing in China, Turkey, Portugal, and lately India. Not an easy fabric to put together, and the technology involved was, as I said, knitted into the yarn, so there was an issue of how we made that fabric soft enough, mainly with a cotton content, to rub against a baby's skin so that it felt soft and delicate. We did everything from vests to sleep sacks, and the technology in there included a liner that was 100% of the NASA technology, to the same thing they use in sort of duvets now. So hat and mitts, there were blankets. Again, you know, when a baby's newborn, there's a big fear about putting them into a sleep sack. So we created blankets to swaddle and ensure that the good old-fashioned way was sort of pursued in that same direction. Play suits, the aesthetic of them, the embroidery, we always created a little mark or a little pattern on the bottom of the garment, so that it just added the cute aspect to it. And there's more sort of blankets, little baby. There's the target. This was our signature range that we created. So, sort of experimentation. There was, while we were creating this, it did throw up a lot of questions. And at the time, you know, I was playing with this fabric, and there was an exhibition on the sort of disabled for disabled people. So we put together a sort of range of clothing that was specifically designed for teenagers, disabled teenagers that weren't specifically, the functionality of them wasn't specifically looked that way. And the idea was that there was everything from magnetic buttons to crease resistance to LEDs, so you could press a button if you wanted to use the toilet, or you know, the temperature regulation. So we applied a lot of sort of smart textiles into this range. We also had one issue with, at the time this particular exhibition was going to be shown as using disabled models, and one of the girls who was going to be modelling for us had a fall and broke her leg. So she was in a wheelchair, and at the time I think the Levi twisted seams were out. So we took that idea and created twisted seams in the form of zips for her, so that actually she could just put the garment on the chair, be lifted into it, and then just zip the whole thing up. So very simple and very, very clean, but with a slight edge to it as well. So this was a sort of garments being worn. So I mentioned pants as well, and you really did lose out on this presentation. This was a product that I came across recently. Somebody sent to me in the past couple of days, which I thought was really interesting. Kahuna's has started designing specifically for men in terms of the way they dress, so whether it be to the left or the right. And you order online and you put your preference in, and the colour is actually the most important aspect here. So they're actually going down a storm at the moment. And I wanted to share with you one other project that we did when we were playing around before with 37 degrees, and we created this brand called Dick Moby. And it was one of my friends was highlighting the fact that her husband was sort of wandering around in the most disgusting boxer shorts that were ripped to pieces, didn't care. You know, girls put on their best lingerie and men seem to sort of, you know, walk around in rags. So she was talking about this, and we created Dick Moby, which was boxer shorts with a slight twist. They were temperature regulating, and they had a little bit of class about them, a little bit of detailing, which made them a bit more unusual. So you've got your little condom pocket there. You have your, you know, little bits of colour and fabric and detail that made it interesting. And of course, it was to keep your crown jewels cool. So we had a lot of fun with that one. And of course, I wanted to just mention it's the future's coming. So talking about the future and what we do at Pearlfisher is we have our own research program that looks at technologies, it looks at the future, it looks at what's coming and what's happening around the world. So in the future, we have a lot of work that we put together, and we talk to pioneers in different areas, and then we put together our own concepts. But I just wanted to share with you a few findings that we've recently published, and these influence the way we design and the way that we produce concepts and ideas. And in the future, both health and wellness are going to be integrated. So what does that mean? Well, there's things like the jawbone, which we all are very aware of, and you know, it tracks our movements and everything else. Well, actually, you know, you then connect it up with your iPhone, but the iPhone anyway is doing that now. And there are many other sort of technologies that are starting to create that. So it's how far can it go, and how sort of, I guess, disregarded it will become in the future. So, yeah, there's the jawbone and with the iPhone. There are a lot of other areas, and I think as well, it's sort of already been highlighted this morning, but the armband that controls and monitors your muscles and measures the electrical activity in your arm. There are many of these. You've got the Galaxy watches, you know, and some are effective, and in our view, some of them aren't so effective. They're just an appendage, dare I say. We've also got sort of 3D printers. You know, we're looking at now an age where we can create almost anything, and you look at anything from sort of shoes to clothes to jewelry. It's an incredible time that we're going through at the moment. This is one of my favorites. This is Guide Me Home shoes, and just in case you get lost, and you know, there's a map on the bottom of the shoe, just in case you sort of forgotten where you live, but also the LED lights in the Brogue type button guides you in which direction to take. Finally, I think there's just one other little film that I want to share with you. And this, I think, again, I found in the past couple of days, is an incredible new piece of technology that's coming out, which I don't know where it's going, but you know, there are so many ideas that I think we can possibly all sort of look at as designers. So I'll just share with you this last one. So nanotechnology, which is an atom thick, created by 3M, and is extremely strong and can be used for sort of touchscreen functions. It's called Gravine. You see, even to the point where you can put it onto washing machines. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Karen. So